Hello, everybody. Welcome back. YouTube.com/Geek Aloud. This is the Gaming Enforcement Agency, episode 109. Second slotting it this evening. Unky Dunky, how you doing, sir?
Mate, I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing well. If my eyes don't deceive me, that guitar over your shoulder has no dust on it. Have you been playing recently?
I definitely have not.
All right, then. And third slotting it this evening, maybe slightly distracted. He loves the impartial games of AFL. Bully, how are you holding us up, mate?
Oh, we've just hit half time, so I will apologise early if I get mildly distracted during the show. It's because my AFL football team is playing. Talking about distractions, you mentioned the guitar there, Troy. I'm mildly distracted by what's popping out from the top of that fucking shirt there.
Whose shirt? Mine or his? What are we talking about?
Oh, no. Unky's shirt. Have you been on
I can't even see it.
Have you been on a gym bender there, sir?
I know what you're talking about.
I thought
don't make me blush.
I thought I'd left spaghetti out of my top from dinner, Bully. I'm like, shit, you could have told me before we're on air. Anyway,
no. Let him go, but we need to have another flex off again, I think.
All right, I'll call Ace, see what we can arrange. This evening's show of the Gaming Enforcement Agency will include games, interrogation, and deliberation. We are doing 4 games this evening. That's right. Followed by the cold case. Bully, you've gone deep into your esky and pulled out a cold one.
Oh, I certainly have, and probably ties into a game that I think we've all been playing of recent weeks. So we'll see how we go with that one.
Very good. That'll be followed by this week's Most Wanted. No money for guessing it. It's I think it's pretty obvious. And then we'll be kicking in newsroom doors. Bully, how sore's the foot? How many doors did you get through?
Foot's all right. The Rams knocked down 4 for this evening.
Great work. So that makes... Of course, we love being on duty. And the second thing we love doing is games, interrogation, and... First up this evening, it is South of Midnight. Unky, you've been playing it, mate. Lead investigator away, sir.
I have. I jumped into this a week early with the early access thanks to Game Pass, and I think it was $13. I think I paid for the deluxe edition for some early access on this one. And mainly the reason I wanted to play this is just, the art style. It's just, as you can see on screen, just something very striking, I think, from Xbox. It's just, it does the stop animation stuff, like the Spider-Verse stuff. If you wanted to, in cutscenes, it does it automatically. In the gameplay, you can turn it off if it's not your jam, which I've done. I just prefer that smoother gameplay experience. But no, just a very strikingly visual, beautifully game. Like playing this game at the start where you're running in the hurricane, not really a spoiler, but it's right at the start of the game. But the amount of weather effects going on and you're just running, it's very linear, but the stuff going on the screen at any given time was just insane. Like I was sort of gobsmacked at how good that game looked off the bat. And that's sort of what drew me in. I think you could probably label this a very simple sort of go back to sort of old school PlayStation 2 days platformer where it's very linear, sort of going point A to point B. You can go off the beaten path a little bit if you like. There's a few little collectibles. Combat's reasonably simple with no real big skill tree, but I don't think the game sort of leans on its combat as its main thing. I think it's really leaning heavily into that story and what it's trying to say. And I think it speaks wonders to say, if you go into the accessibility menu, you can turn off those combat encounters completely. You don't even have to do them. So if you are finding the combat too hard or frustrating, or you just don't want to be part of it at all, if you don't want to fight the bosses, but you just want the story, you can turn all that off, which I think, it's not a game sort of being not confident in itself, saying, we think our game's crap, we don't want to play it. It's just to, alleviate some of those concerns for those people that might just want that walking simulator, which this game is beautiful. And the soundtrack in this game, I think, I don't know how much you've played of it, but playing through that whole first area where you get the story that you're playing through, and then while you're going up to sort of do the last bit of that level, and there's a music playing with guitar playing with lyrics that are made specifically for that chapter that you've played, was just, I thought, incredible. Like, it was giving me like chills just playing through that bit, the way it was told. And I think that's what I really enjoy about this game, is just the story it's telling. It's, it's leaning into the old sort of folklore of the, South as well, which it leans heavily into. And even with the character herself, they sort of build her quickly as like this ex-track star. And even the way she animates, she sort of runs like a track star as well, which I think is really cool. And I just think, it's just a very pretty game. And I think I'm not going to be, waxing on about how good the combat or gameplay is, because it is very, you've played this game before. It feels very like, baby's first Infamous game, really, like with the powers and the, zipping around. It's got all these mechanics that other games have got, but it's just the way it looks and the way it presents itself, I just think is a really nice package. And, it's not going to win any game of the years, but I think it's definitely sitting at sort of 8 out of 10 mark for me right now. And I'm easily going to see myself finishing this. And I think what the guys have done here is, I think you really set themselves up a great universe and, launching pad to sort of launch into a sequel for this. I think the characters are really well done and well written, and the story as well. I think they've really given themselves somewhere to go. But no, I'm loving my time with this game so far. And even just to call it a game, I think feels a little bit diminishing of the fact with the experience I'm getting from it, because of the way it's sort of told as this story. So no, I'm really loving it. So I'm not keen to see what you guys think of it and how much you've played of it.
Yeah, I've put about an hour into it, mate. First thing I want to shout out is the narration, the voiceover. That dude, whoever it is, has knocked it out of the park. I absolutely love it. The just gentle in and out transitions from chapter to chapter.
Well, that's he's the fish, isn't he? He's the giant fish or cod that you rescue, I think, at the start of the game. Have you done that?
No, I'm like,
fuck you. You've really only just started. So now you've barely seen anything.
Well, this brings me to my first point. Guess, first off, the pacing in this game, it just needs a 5% tighten up, because I played it initially when I did the install video for about 20 minutes, and I think about the last 10 minutes was me repeatedly failing that first bridge parkour section.
Oh, you're failing a platform section?
Yeah.
Who would have thought it?
I found it over and over, and by that point, the story hadn't grabbed me at all. So I saw it, I don't know, 5 days ago or whatever. And then today, to capture this footage, I fired it back up, was in that bridge section, just walked straight through what was challenging me the other day. And then the second you cross over that bridge, it's the first hint of interesting narrative. As soon as you land on the ground, it cuts to the big mysterious monster in the background. And I'm like, holy shit, now I'm in. But if they had just tightened that up by 5%, I would have seen that and got way beyond it on my first playthrough. But I noticed that was there repeating, because I think I did the first 2 chapters, maybe the first 3 today. Yeah. And it was true. Every chapter just feels like it's about 5% too long. If they just tightened it a whisker, it would keep my interest up now. But to your point, man, I've played it and I can see myself finishing it now. The story is top notch. I'm riveted. I'm fascinated. I want to know what's going on. As you said, man, they've nailed that whole Southern feel, the music, the voice acting. It just, you feel like it's American South. I've never been there. I've got no first-hand experience, but from all the media I've consumed over the years, I'm just loving it. And it's given me little echoes of True Detective season 1, because that was all set in the South, and so it's got a bit of that edge to it, and really enjoyed my time with it. Look forward to finishing it off. Bully, have you gone hands-on with this one at all, mate?
Yeah, I have. Just talking about the narrator, the catfish character, Walt Roberts is the voice actor for that, and just going through some of his IMDb credits, he's very much a lot of movies, TV shows from the South, and he really encapsulates that sort of vibe that you have going through it. I'm with you as well, that the actual setting of it, the storytelling of it. I'm really big on the music of it. I don't know if I've noticed in the background the soundtrack that they've got to it's probably one of the best that I've heard in gaming for a long, long time. That goes with it. All of that for me sits really top tier. The funny thing is with it that the gameplay itself, I find drab and boring, to be fairly honest. Like Unky said, it's like your baby's first platformer type of thing. I find it just basic, generic.
Agreeing with you, even though I failed the first platforming challenge multiple times. But continue.
It's sort of basic, generic. Like you said, there's some little parts off the track that you can go and explore and find these riffs that you can then get upgrading or that go towards your upgrading. The combat, I thought it was horrendous. There's no fluidity to it in terms of your movements and there's a 5-button combo, and by the time you get to the 3rd or 4th one, it opens up a really wide window for the enemies to attack you into that you sort of struggle to, and I find it hard to dodge out of. The selecting, like, it's got a target lock on it, but the target lock doesn't work probably half the time that you try and lock onto someone I've found with. So that part of it really lets me down. Like, and even though it's basic and you think it should work okay, the encounters I found, and they're drab, bland encounters, I sort of found it's
I'll give you that. And like playing, I think I'm through a fair bit of it now. I reckon probably over halfway through, and the combat's never really changed. Like the enemies stayed reasonably simple, and the combat you're doing essentially is the same thing over and over again. And like maybe it's because I've come off playing something like First Berserker Kazan, where that combat is so engaging and some of the best combat I've played in a video game, especially this year. And to sort of switch between that, there is a decent sort of jarring aspect to it. And the fact that one's definitely feels polished for the combat, and one game definitely is not. Because I almost even considered turning off the combat encounters. I'm like, but I mean, I do like the breakup of it. Like, I don't mind just mashing the buttons every now and again, because I reckon I've died maybe once, so it's never that hard. And the boss fight I found some kind of funny. And I'm not sure if I don't think Troy has. Bully, have you fought the giant crocodile?
No, I think I'm just up to that part.
Yeah, so that fight like a little bit frustrating trying to figure out the mechanics, but sort of it gave you a little bit sort of more to think about in mechanics and the way to fight him as opposed to just mashing buttons. So if they can sort of add a few more of those boss characters in there and the tactics you've got to use there, I could understand that sort of being okay to play. But yeah, at the moment, if the combat just stays the way it is, and I think most levels are going to sort of pan out the same way, where it's sort of a story about one certain character, you go around, you find all the certain stuff to fill your bottle up, you have your combat encounters, you get chased out of a realm, you got to make it to the tree, and then you have a big moment and you release their heart or whatever it is. I think most levels are going to go like that. I don't see it deviating too far from that each level. If it does, great, but I don't see it doing much. But I'm not overly upset about it. I mean, I don't mind the formula, and if it keeps telling compelling stories, I'm okay with that. And as I said, if we do get frustrated with some of that combat stuff, we can just turn it off.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing I sort of look at it is if the gameplay side of it is being let down by, we mentioned a couple of times, a fairly linear pathway where there's not a lot of exploration other than, you turn the camera left and right and you can see that those, secret areas that you need to get to. The combat itself is not great. I almost think, well, is it worth either going one or two ways? Is it worth dumbing it down to basically a war picking sim and playing the, and just allowing the story to play out and tell a great story, because it has so far? Or do you even strip it back further than that and just say it's might actually be better as a Netflix show or something like that, where you can tell the story, you can get all the involvement, you could probably flesh it out even a little bit better in a story like that and do without the gameplay. I'm really torn on it, to be honest with you, because I was exactly the same. I jumped into it, and the art style and the music and all that sort of stuff really captured me in. And after about 2 hours, I sort of thought, "Oh, is this it? Is this how I'm spending my time?" It's not, for me. It's not overly compelling that I feel, really. I wake up in the morning, I have to jump back into it to see where I'm going next. Or the story isn't. It's good, don't get me wrong, but it's not that compelling that I sort of have to go, well, I'm gonna push through these other segments just to see where the story goes. So it's probably a bit of. I can see where they're going, but it's a bit of a miss for me in the end. And I know you're sort of talking about an 8, Unky. I'd be like 6 for me is probably generous.
For me, I reckon if you're breaking up, you go as a game, maybe a 6. For me, as an experience so far, it's been an 8. I think when some of those music stuff kicks in, it's just that feeling I've had sitting there, enjoying that moment of the game and the way it all sort of hit. I think that for me is what elevates it, as not so much as a game, as more of an experience or media thing. Like, you said it could be a Netflix show. I think you go either way. Either you strip back all that gameplay stuff and do make it more of a walking simulator or story-based thing, like a Telltale game or whatever, or you go the other way and do you elevate the combat and make it more like Souls-like, and you give a lot more action and stuff to it. Like, you could go one or two ways, but does doing one of those things diminish one of the other ones further? I don't know.
Well, it's one of those things, though. I don't think you need to go to that. Like you talked about Kazan or into Soulsborne games. I don't think you really necessarily need to go to that level. But I'd just like something a bit more interesting and a bit more that sort of changes. Like the first combat encounter you have to the 20th combat encounter you have is exactly the same. Really, you get a few more abilities and stuff, but they don't really do a heck of a lot, I've found. And it's sort of basically, it's the same as the first one, it's the same to the 20th one. So unless you're sort of innovating and maybe using some of those skills a bit better in terms of the combat, and they work really well outside of combat in terms of exploring the world and, reanimating objects or breaking down objects and all that sort of stuff. But they don't really transpose over into the actual combat scenario. So if they had to put a little bit more time into that and mixing it up a little bit, and granted, I haven't done any of those big boss battles yet, but the sort of every 3 or 4 minutes, I think, is where you sort of hit those combat encounters in an enclosed environment where you work through that area, and then it's sort of onto the next bit. And
I would like to see them incorporate combat more into that general flow of the actual gameplay, as opposed to just break it up into platform, running, jumping, searching, combat. Like, I would prefer some more flow to that. I could see that definitely being, moved into a sequel where they sort of catch their straps and sort of know what they're doing, and then can sort of span on that and sort of get the player feedback and stuff in relation to the game as well. But I don't know. I mean, it's cost of admissions Game Pass essentially, so you can just jump in. If you've already got Game Pass, you can jump in there. If you don't like it, you can bounce. If not, you haven't wasted any money at all. I don't feel like I've wasted money by spending that little bit extra to get it, a week early and get that experience a week early as well. So, but no, you mentioned of the Netflix series. I could easily see something like this, the world of this expanding to a Netflix series and doing quite well with either this art style or something else. I just finished watching the Devil May Cry. They just released on Netflix. I just watched all 8 episodes over 2 days, and the way they adapted that with the new anime, I thought was incredible. Like, for you guys, if you're a Devil May Cry fan, go out and watch that Netflix show. Like,
I didn't even know it existed. So
mate, you have to watch it if you like Devil May Cry at all. That show, it was amazing. Like, if you like anime, like it's violent, it's rated R. So I'd say maybe don't let the kids watch. I'll let my kid watch because he loved it. But it is only animated. But no, really good show. So I could easily see something like this definitely being adapted to that Netflix kind of show. But I mean, you'd probably want, maybe once the sequel comes out, I think maybe just the first game only coming out now, it probably doesn't have the legs to stand up as a TV show just yet.
That's fair. Just to circle back on one of your earlier points, I think it was you, Billy, mentioning about the lock-on. In my experience, like with your Soulsborne, you can be facing any direction, hit the lock-on button, even if it's directly behind you and it'll lock on. But in this game, it honestly feels like you've got about a 15-degree viewpoint in front of you, and they have to be within that pie that you can lock onto them. And if they're just like, if they're 20 degrees off axis, it doesn't work, and it drives me nuts.
The other part to that, to even extend that, is the abilities you do get that you can target some of these enemies. If you're facing the wrong direction, or like you said, just off axis, even if you've got them locked on, often that you hit those abilities and it just goes off into the ether, and then you've got a cooldown period, which I think is exorbitant. It can be 20, 30 seconds for these cooldown periods. Yeah. So if you miss one of these, it can affect how your combat scenario goes. And granted, it's not overly difficult, but it just becomes frustrating when you fire off a couple of abilities, but because the camera angle's the wrong way, even though you're locked on, it misses. You then have to, run around and wait for those to reset, and then sort of go in again. So it's just.
Yeah, I find that the hold down square, I think, to do your powerful thing just takes too long to load. Every time you load that sort of attack, by the time you've loaded it and got the direction you need to go, you're getting flanked by something as well. So whether they change that to a heavy attack button on triangle or something, I don't know. But I think they could definitely tighten. Obviously, I think we're probably in the same boat. They could definitely tighten up those combat mechanics.
Anyway, an enjoyable game. If you've got Game Pass, as Unky said, definitely worth checking out. I'm really enjoying the theme. Overall, great work, whomever it was. Speaking of great work, game 2 this evening is me. It's Project Tower. I realised over the weekend it just appeared in my sales list. I didn't know this game had come out. I was excited for it. I think November or December last year we covered the demo of it, came to PlayStation. Turns out it came out the 6th of January and I had no idea. So I just picked it up over this weekend, and it's still currently, I think it's 40% off in the PlayStation Store. So I think it's only like $22 entry.
Now, Troy, is it worth the $20?
I really think it is, man. Like, if you're a Returnal fan, I think no question, drop the money on it.
Is it any better than the?
You know, I'm a Returnal fan. That was my.
I know, that's what I'm saying, Hunky. Spend the money, man.
I think that makes it always harder to like it though, because Returnal is like S tier video gaming.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting they're on par at all. That's not what I'm saying. But as you can see, the boss fights, reminiscent of Returnal. It's not a roguelike at all, but it's just the boss fights. If you love those Returnal boss fights, this has, it's AA, arguably, standard of it. But the game's running at 120 frames a second, so it's silky smooth. It's Unreal Engine, and it looks great at PlayStation. On the PlayStation 5 Pro, which sort of captured this on, I think, what did they call it? It was something weird, like extreme quality or something. Like, it was a real PC-centric labeling on their graphics preset. It wasn't like, how it's normally, what do they say, frame rate or quality or something? But it wasn't that. It was like ultra quality or something. Anyway.
I'm not sure if you said, is it Unreal 5?
The splash screen just says Unreal Engine. So not sure whether it was Unreal 4 or 5. Probably 5 at a guess, but I honestly don't know. But if you enjoy the Returnal boss fights, Unky, I know you do. This is great. They really play around with the morphing system. I think you played the demo, didn't you, back then, Unky?
Yeah, I did. It was a bit slow. Like, can't remember where I got up to. I know there was some animal stuff. You jump in and control some animals,
Yeah.
which I thought was a bit strange and a bit weird. And it kind of sort of took me out of a little bit. I just want that third-person shooting just to be fun and fast. And
Oh, that's
probably,
fair. Hey, maybe it's not for you then, because I'm really enjoying all the morphing. Like every level, there's 2 or 3 different aliens you morph into to solve challenges. Like you'll see in the end of this clip, you turn into some sort of like on-land jellyfish creature, but suddenly your jump is extended massively and you can like jump way up onto the ledges.
Well, it's funny that you say get your Eternal hit, because I've actually gone back to like Doom Eternal and Doom 2016 just to get that kind of Returnal hit of like bullet hell and just a whole bunch of shit going on the screen any given time.
Yeah.
And we've got obviously Doom just around the corner as well. So I'll get my fix there with the shooting. But I mean, if this was maybe even cheaper, maybe
$22 is too much for you.
Under $10, maybe. I don't know.
You're the whale on this show.
Well, I am, but I mean, I just managed. I got Devil May Cry 5, I think, for $13 today, the full deluxe edition, or $16.
Yeah, all right. Well,
which is, I think,
next to each other.
a little bit better, I think.
Oh, have they scored, Bully?
Yes, they have. Yes, they have. I told you, ignore the random movements off to the side. Keep talking.
So there's interesting little puzzle bits, like you finish a level and then you get into this sort of weird, almost, what's it called in bloody Animus? It's kind of like this weird, almost Animus level where it turns into like a physics puzzle game. There's no enemies as such. It's, 3D platforming, but you got to solve it with weapons and then timing your jumps. And we all know I'm not the best at it, so I don't know. But
how are you and Bully going at Split Fiction, by the way?
My old man hands haven't got back to it yet. Sorry, Bully.
Oh.
And Bully, honestly, Bully
waiting.
told me, he's like, you've only got one more level, and then Unky says you're not going to be able to play anymore. So that kind of put me off.
Bully, I'm going to have to play with you, man. I'm not sure if I've said it on content, but I did finish the game like a week ago or whatever, or 2 weeks ago now. And my God, that final level, that is some of the best video game content I've ever played in my entire life. So,
well, we'll have to hook up, because I think 2 weeks has gone by and I haven't had any messages to hook up again. So I think
Troy, show us your hands, Troy, at the moment. What o'clock at the moment?
I think he's cooked. I think
he's cooked. He's done.
My best gaming days are behind me, it's true. I can still pull a trigger in Call of Duty. That's about it, though.
Maybe just stick with Animal Crossing or something. I don't know.
That'll follow us in the news, I think. Anyway, so I love Returnal. If you like morphing creatures, if you like 3D puzzle platformers with guns, if you like Returnal boss fights, might be worth a check. As I said, demo's free on the PlayStation Store. It's also on PC, I think. No, it is. But on sale at the minute. I think it's totally worth the $22. Unky disagrees with me. To each his own, I suppose. Game 3. Is this you, Unky, or Bully? Someone take us for Game 3.
No, I mean, I'm happy to start off because I was probably the first one to play it. I think I spoke about it as looking forward to this game, and I'd already had it a week in advance earlier. But no, great game. I found it hard to get. Jesus Christ. I just saw the bloody fisheye, Troy. Jesus, how you play that game like that? I've got no idea.
Look at it, 120 degrees. Nothing sneaking up on me. Look, who's sneaking up on me? No one.
I'm all for a wider FOV, but that's fucking ridiculous.
Why is that, Bully? Come on, weigh in, but is that really ridiculous, Bully?
Yep.
All right, then. I'm wrong.
It's like looking through a magnifying glass backwards.
That's actually Bully well put. It's insane. I cannot even look at that without like wanting to throw up. Anyway, about the game hasn't really changed from what I sort of said last time. I think if you're sort of into your Fallout, you're sort of post-apocalyptic games, which don't hold your hand. This is definitely it. I enjoy the fact that it is different. It doesn't hold your hand. It gives you these clues to go after, and you unravel different secrets as you go, and you can do different parts of the story however you please. And the game does get easier the sort of more you sort of explore and get different guns and different weapons, and to make that easier. Like I found some of these rolled up into this like bunker not that long ago, and there was all of a sudden these zombies that were just like one hit killing you and stuff until you sort of managed to find a shotgun and all that. So now my weaponry is pretty good. I'm getting very good with the bow, which is nice. Jesus Christ, I cannot get over that FOV. No, I'd be more happy to see what you guys have to say because you haven't sort of played it the last time I was speaking about it. So what do you guys think?
Go, Billy, go.
Oh, well, I think I probably put about 5 hours into it. It was one that I saw, and when I started to look for a physical edition, it was getting quite rare initially, like in the pre-order stage. So I jumped on it. And the only reason I jumped on it so quickly was to try and get that physical edition before it got sold out in Australia. And as it turns out, the day after I bought it, it seems to be available everywhere. So good luck with that. But I was really hoping for a Fallout style, not remake, but like in that same sort of similar vein. That's what I was really hoping for. And that first hour that you play through, it's borderline brutal in terms of, you know, you get out of the first area and the first town you come across is full of, you know, enemy characters, and you sort of start sneaking your way through there, and you just get absolutely slaughtered. So you almost have to go, let's just forget that for the time being, work your way around it.
That was fine.
Well,
I think I'm just trying to skill check you there, Billy.
No issues. Just say.
All right. Well, you play with 120-degree FOV and
no thanks.
And carry on.
That's why Troy's never died, because you can fucking pretty much see behind him.
That's exactly right. The bridge in bloody South of Midnight. Maybe you'd have my number for 5 minutes, but no one's killed me in this yet.
Yeah. Well, there you go. The only reason is because you start having not read a hell of a lot about it, other than it's a Fallout style type game. I sort of went into it thinking that same sort of thing. All right, well, you go and get some weapons and you come across this town and you start shooting everyone up. And you can't play it like that, especially to start with. Unky, you mentioned it. Like, it takes you a good 4 or 5 hours of upskilling and finding weapons and all the rest of it. And that's where I found the challenge of it to start with, was just that initial period of, it's not a Fallout game. And it does have elements of it, and it does have, you know, some storyline that would be similar to a Fallout, you know, British style game, but you can't really play it like that. You've almost got to play it like a survival horror game to a degree.
Survival crafting,
where you've really got to be mindful of, you know, what things you're collecting, what your ammo's at, and all that sort of stuff, and work through it that way. So I sort of skipped that first town area, went to the next bit, which was like a rebuilt British town sort of thing, and then, you know, you start going through that, and some of the side quests and stories that, you know, enveloped me more than what the actual main quest is. It still has a lot of that Fallout style to it, where you just you find yourself down a rabbit hole of, I'll just do this side quest that leads to something else, that unravels this whole mystery. So I've really enjoyed that part of it. It's just that I suppose it's just wrapping your head around when you go in, and I'm sure you guys have had it as well, is when you go into a game thinking it's going to be one thing, and it turns out to be not that at all, and you've really got to wrap your head around where you're at and how you're going to play it. And that's sort of where I found myself with it. But I've really enjoyed my time with it. You just got to get yourself into that space. But it's like a more intense Fallout game, and probably where you would think and hope that Fallout goes in the future, that it's not just you know, you pick up your weapon and all of a sudden you're just mowing down everyone in the world and upskilling that way. Whereas you really got to think your way through it. You got to work your way through it. Can I attack this group of enemies because I've only got a shotgun with half a dozen rounds in it, or do I go and do something else? So
I'm not sure if you tried, but I think I was doing a lot of luring them all into one group and then just using a Molotov and chucking that in and just taking them all at one go. Then you take all their shit and you loot them all, and you've only used one Molotov. Usually one of them's carrying one as well. So you get your Molotov back and you've wasted no ammo whatsoever. So that was generally my way to deal with mobs of dudes in this game.
Yeah, but I've really enjoyed what I played of it so far. As I said, probably 4 or 5 hours into it, and it's like you said, Unky. I really like the fact that you can do the main quest, or you can find these side bits, and you know, it's one of those games where your interaction with it and your playthrough with it would be entirely different to the way I've played through, because I've gone off and found something over to the side that you've never heard of, but you've gone on a different path and all the rest of it. So I really like that part where you can basically work through it how you see fit, and the old choose your own adventure style games where or books where you sort of go, okay, now, well, this is the choice I'm making, but once you're committed to that choice, you're sort of committed to it. You can't go back, and you've really got to keep following down that path until you get a result or end the quest and then move on to the next one. So I've really enjoyed it. It does have its, you know, it's not the smoothest game. It's not the highest graphical quality game, but in
highest field of view.
Yeah, you could reduce
450.
You could reduce that by about 50%. But anyway,
but then I'd lose the thrill of when you pan it.
There's no
feels
thrill.
like there is. You know, in Vampire Survivors.
What do you mean you need to pan it? You can see the whole map around you.
You know, in Vampire Survivors, when you pop a chest and then like 1 in 10 or whatever, you get the big payout, the 5 binger, and then your head goes woo. by having the field of view at 120, every time I pan the camera, my head goes, woo!
I'm not surprised your head goes woo. I'm looking at it and I'm not even playing it. My head's going woo.
I find it's a little cheap thrill.
But I think that there's a lot of potential behind this game, and I'm sort of looking at it going, well, you know, only 5 hours in, I'll go back and keep playing it. But is there a lot of potential for a next game? And then the next step is there a lot of potential for Bethesda to really learn from this with their next game and where they go with it? Because there's a lot of things in this game that I think they could draw back into the main Fallout games that would work pretty well. But as an interlude, because who the hell knows when we get the next Fallout game? I think it works really well, and it's
2030.
It's a good addition.
Yeah, it's but they didn't appear to learn a lot from Fallout in the start when they launched StarCraft. There was a whole lot of errors in that. So
apparently this game was actually like just a tech demo thing they came up with just to try and work on their next game. They were doing it just like, oh, shits and giggles, a couple of people working on it, just got to see what we can do. And then it evolved into this game. So the fact they can sort of do that to this without sort of much direction to start off with, I think if you give them a chance to do a sequel, who knows where they can go with this. I just think for a first out try of this style of game, I think they've absolutely nailed it.
All right, what's a better kickoff? Atomfall for a new one or South of Midnight?
Or I reckon you see a sequel to Atomfall before you see a sequel to South. Oh, fuck, actually. I don't know. They're both very... trying to think. Actually, no. I'll say Atomfall just because they managed to punch out their games pretty quick, that developer, whereas South of Midnight, it's their first game. So they're pretty good at pumping the Sniper Elite games out and Zombie Army games, and they've managed to pull this out of nowhere. So, no, we'll go Atomfall too.
All right, and you're sticking there as well, Billy?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
All right, then let's kick it into game 4, shall we? Stand back, boys. Let me take the reins. I don't think either of you blokes have tried Hitman World of Assassination in VR.
Oh, this is the ultimate field of view, isn't it?
Oh, you know it is, baby. It's I think it was at 12. It was either 10 or 12 bucks, I think, for the DLC add-on to World of Assassination. Money well spent, in my opinion. It's a whopping 10 megabytes to download, so they've included it in everyone's package, and you just got to pay the 10 or 12 bucks or whatever, get the unlock key, and then you're off to the races in the game. It's every level in the game in VR mode. It's absolutely phenomenal. Now, I didn't go hunting for it, but in my just launching it up and then launching a destination, there was no tutorial section. So it took me a bit to work out, you got to put your hand against your chest, pull the trigger, and then pull it out to get into your inventory, which should be simple, but wasn't. But the game looks and runs phenomenal. You're looking at it on a PS5 Pro. Bloody thing is absolutely flawless. Tip of the cap to IO Interactive. They've smashed it out of the park. I love me some Hitman and I love me some VR. It's a marriage made in heaven. If you like both of those things, go drop that 12 bucks. Honestly, they could have charged me 40 and I would have still been happy with it. So I love everything about it. Boys, any interest?
Well, let's be honest. They could charge you $500,000 and you'd be into Hitman at this point, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah, probably.
I don't know. I find it hard to get the headset on these days, and the only thing that made me put it on sort of last year was that Batman.
Is that just because you've been in the gym too long?
Yeah, probably that. I know, and the more gym I get into, the bigger my head gets too.
I was going to say, because we keep talking about it, his head keeps getting fatter.
Can't get the headset on anymore, boys. No, I think I'm probably more inclined to go back and finish the Batman Arkham game that came out last year, because I was really into that, and that VR experience was like one of the best I've ever had. So, and I'm more of a Batman fan than I'm a Hitman fan. So I can see myself going back into that before sort of putting the headset on to see this. Maybe if I come out of the studio, Troy, we can...
Doors open, man. Come on in.
Have another crack.
Mind you, it's on the open because it's like, hot in here. But there is nothing quite as satisfying. I'm just going to vamp for 2 seconds because I'm about to take out this target. It's the story target. This is a Hitman 2 level. Like, it's obviously been re-upped and it's in the modern engine and everything. But it's like the old content looks top notch. And that Dubai level. I should have put the footage of the Dubai. Anyway, pick up the shovel. How you doing in VR? Donk. Target assassinated. Swinging wildly in the studio.
This is a kids show, Troy. Jesus.
Oh, sorry. I should probably stop swearing as well. All right, that's going to do it for Games Interrogation and Deliberation. While I drop this cold body into the cellar, we're going to go over to Bully for this week's Cold Case.
Over to Bully for an update on Geelong hitting the front, but aside from that, Assassin's Creed Valhalla was what I jumped into. I hit it in the lead up to Shadows coming out as one that I'd put a fair bit of time into, but had been on a bit of a Assassin's Creed kick. I went back and played Rogue, played through the story of that, went back and played Valhalla and a little bit of Odyssey as well. But the reason I've sort of brought it up is just, you guys spoke about Shadows last week, and I know Valhalla has got its detractors and it's a bloated game and all the
I
rest
love
of
it. I won't say a negative thing about it.
But I'm actually more was more enjoying Valhalla than what I was Shadows, and I put 40 odd hours into Shadows. I've beaten all of the main story missions. I've done most of the side missions. I've done 90 odd % of the trophies. So I have put a heck of a lot of time into it. But a lot of the things that were annoying me about Shadows with things that I didn't find in Valhalla. So a lot of the I don't know if you guys spoke about it last week. I didn't catch all of it, but some of the traversal across the world, trying to, the mountains where you're consistently slipping down and, that sort of thing. I just found the traversal around Valhalla was a heck of a lot better. That the interest level for me of what was going on, and that's just a personal preference I get. I have more of an interest in English history than I would Japanese history, as much as I found some of the parts of Shadows interesting. The history of England sort of interests me a bit more, especially with that more sort of, you're going back 1,500 years for Valhalla. I really enjoyed it, probably more than I would have Shadows. So I don't know whether you guys have touched on it or played it lately. Troy, you said you've really enjoyed it, despite the fact that the detractors will say it's an overly bloated game. And I'm the first to throw my hand up and say that there's probably too much in there. And
I love a bit of bloat.
And it needs to be a bit tighter. But comparative to Shadows, the reason I threw this in there is having played both recently, what your thoughts are on where the series sits and which of the two games is sitting higher on your tier, I guess.
Valhalla is, if we're just talking Assassin's Creed scale here, obviously the Desmond original trilogy is at the 10 mark. Valhalla and what was it, Origins before that was the Rome one? Odyssey. Thank you. Odyssey and Valhalla are both at a 9, and Shadows is at an 8 for me, if I'm just doing a loose ranking of them. To your point, I understand everyone's like, oh, Valhalla, there's too much content. Me, if the game's that good, just give me more. I don't care. I'm happy. Like, I loved every minute of it. I love dropping the hammers on shit. Like, give me more hammer throwers. Thank you. If there's one thing they could add to Shadows, nice big hammer. I love it. I fired it back up today to just capture this footage for now. And I unlocked 3 achievements. I've put hundreds of hours into this game, and within 10 minutes I unlocked 3 rare achievements. And I'm like, I must have been at 99% on it because it was, collect whatever collectibles. Anyway, I love Valhalla, and I'm enjoying my time with it more. Before I hand it over to you, Unky Bully, I just want to ask, did you play your Shadows time before or after? Because it was only a few days ago they dropped the PSSR support for the enhanced graphics in Shadows on the PS5 Pro, and I'm just wondering if you spent any time with it.
Yeah, so I've done both. So I did. I didn't buy Shadows on release. I probably waited a week or two because I was back into Valhalla, and the ratings that it was getting, and everyone was, all the sites that I was reading say, it's one of the best in years and all the rest of it. And I thought, oh, okay, well, I was going to wait a bit, and I had other stuff to do, but I thought, oh, well, if it's, I've always loved Assassin's Creed, every one of them, and don't get me wrong, some of them have got problems, but for the most part, I can see past those because of the intrigue of the setting in which you play each of those games. But so I probably jumped into Shadows a little bit later than you guys did, and probably bridged over that gap of the first patch I think that they had in, and then the next couple that they've thrown in after that. So to me though, the patching itself and what they've done, it's not going to alleviate the problems I've got with the game, and the problems are the way the game's structured, the traversal across the world, the way the main missions in the story are structured. Like, it's very confusing, even late game, as to which of the actual missions are main missions and which ones are side missions, and how you go about that. And I had to actually Google it. Okay, I'd got the trophy for hitting the end credits, but I hadn't got the trophy for finishing Act 3, 4, or the epilogue. Like, because you've got no idea. Like, you go, well, I'm near this mission, I'll just go and do this mission. And then all of a sudden that mission says, all right, well, that's unlocked Yusuke's story. that's the end of his story. And you sort of go, hang on a minute, I've got all this other stuff that I haven't done yet that doesn't really make sense with the flow of the narrative in the single player game. And that's probably my biggest issue with the game altogether is that there's no flow with it.
Yeah, well, that's right up there, mate, with the, I can't remember what it's called, but the little music interlude meditation jobbies. I did 2 or 3 of those before I hit the tutorial for how to do it. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It is all over the shop. They needed a bit more time in QA, I reckon.
Yeah, and that's the thing I find. Like, as much as you can say Valhalla's got bloat, at least it's relatively structured. Okay, it can be repetitive, and I get that. But at least it's got structure as to where it's going. Shadows is just throw a bunch of ideas at the wall.
Yeah, Bully, did you turn on the different navigation, or did you stick with the having to send out your scouts to find your objective, or did you turn that off? Because I know you can lose some achievements.
I turned that off as soon as I got the trophy for sending your scout out, because it was just.
So is that when they say if you turn that on, it could stop you getting trophies? Is that it? So it doesn't diminish the getting a platinum if you have that on for the rest of your game?
No. So there's one trophy that you need to have the scouts go and gather that intel for one of your quests. And as soon as you pop that trophy, you can drop it back down to just tell me where to go.
Oh, that's a pro tip, because I unlocked that trophy many hours ago, and I'm still bloody.
Because even I was like wanting to speed it up a bit. I was like, I know I need to go there. I know I can go to the map and find it, and I know exactly where I need to go. But if I could just have a point to go there, like, I don't mind the Ubisoft, collectathon games. I don't mind knowing where I need to go to get stuff done. I mean, not everyone's got 100 hours to play a game, and yes, it might be more immersive, but just tell me where to go.
Well, I've got the hours, just not the dexterity.
I've done that for the last 3 or 4 years. The first thing I look at is this going to avoid any trophy issues if I just go, tell me where to go? Because I think one of the first things that comes up with each of the games is, do you want to play it the way we have designed it, i.e. you work out where to go. We'll give you the hints and work out where to go. And I sort of go, this is a 100-hour plus game. You just tell me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to muck around with, I go to this general area, and then once I'm in that general area, I'll go, do I go here? Do I go there? What do I do? I'll just go, just tell me the exact point on the map I need to go, and I'll go there, and I'll kill the person I need to kill, and let's move on.
Yeah. And so you turned on instant assassinations as well, I take it?
Yep.
No, I didn't. I didn't. But then I was...
Have to do that.
I think by the time I'd sort of got to all that point, I was fairly well ranked in terms of your skill tree anyway. So it was pretty much... bar the very odd one, it was pretty much one.
I can't believe it's just not a thing. Like I know it's like got the RPG stuff, and it wants you to sort of level gauge you to a certain extent of doing content to level up. But for me, if I'm stabbing someone in the neck with a essentially a shiv and they're not dying straight away, for me that takes a little bit of the realism out of the whole thing and a bit of the fun. I think.
Did they ever solve the riddle of why she didn't have to lose a finger to get the blade out?
Nah, you never
didn't address it
because you pop your finger like that.
The original trilogy, mate, Desmond had to lose the middle finger.
So, Bully, Troy can't do that with his own hands.
But he's the only one that ever did.
What I can? Come on.
None of
perfectly straight, Troy. You keep perfectly straight.
None of the others after that had to lose their finger because they redeveloped the design. I think that was in one of the Assassin's Creed 2.
All right, I'm going to have to go replay Assassin's Creed 2. Clearly, I've got to work. We'll just note it's the perfect shape for grabbing a baseball.
Oh, that's good. Scooping ice cream as well.
All right, fellas.
The claw.
Let's move on
Strong
into
hand.
most wanted, shall we? My most wanted, new set of hands, please. Bully, I think it's you, mate. What's the most wanted game?
There's 2 parts to this. One, there's not a heck of a lot coming out in this next week, but
I beg to differ. There's something coming out tomorrow, but you say this one first.
Yeah, I had a look at that. It's getting good reviews. I'm yet to be convinced, but in any event, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which we saw come out in December for Xbox, and it's made its way to PS5, which was probably the worst kept secret in the world. But my thing with this is probably twofold. One, I reckon I put about 20, 25 hours into the first one and stopped because I was enjoying it so much that I got to the point where I go, I know this is coming out on the PS5. It's going to be on the Pro. It's going to be enhanced above where the Xbox is sitting at the moment, and it's going to have the Platinum, which is where I'm at. So I pretty much stopped after 20-odd hours of playing through it and thought, well, it's a given for me. I've got it for free on Xbox or on Game Pass. I'll jump in and buy the PS5 release when it does come out. It does come with, if you do get the deluxe edition, I think it comes with the extra DLC or the DLC that's releasing the same day as well. So a new storyline that goes with it. But I think my interest, as much as I'm hyped to get back into it and play through it again, my interest is twofold. Is one, to see how it actually sells on the PS5.
Sell its tits off, I reckon.
Knowing that it came out on the Xbox the better part of 6 months ago, and how that's damaged sales with games previously. And the other part that I'm really interested to see is if it actually plays and performs better from a graphical standpoint, especially on the PS5 Pro, than what it does on the
Does
Series
it come up?
X.
Does it come up Pro enhanced if you look it up on the store?
It has to.
Oh,
it has to. Anything that came out after the Pro's launch has to have a.
I mean, it ran very well on the Series X.
Was
I don't remember
60, yeah?
Yeah, 60 frames, and I don't remember it dropping.
Imagine
any
at
frames,
120.
and it looks really good. So, whether you get even more enhanced quality ray tracing, I don't know. But I mean, to think it looked that good on the Series X, hopefully it even looks even better on the PS.
And that's been my thing is so it's an Xbox Studios game released exclusively on the Xbox to begin with, and then it comes out on the PS5, which, for all intents and purposes, and we'll find out next week, is it going to be the optimal version to be able to play this game on? Is it going to look better, play better, run better?
I think you can take that to the bank.
All that sort of stuff that goes with it. And then where does that leave Xbox into the future in terms of,
the biggest third-party publisher on PlayStation is where
and that's already where they sit. But does that sort of escalate or bring forward where they sit in terms of, do we move on? It's probably too late for the next generation. There'd be another Xbox console coming down the pipeline. But where do they look at this and say, look at the sales we're getting? We're getting better performance. We're getting better gameplay output on a PS5, and we don't have to inject the money into R&D for a new console. Is games like this, and we won't see it for a couple of years, but is a game like this hastening their retreat from a console market to just becoming a software supplier? So
for me, you can lock that in, I reckon.
So for me, that's really where the intrigue lies. It's going to sell well. I think we all know that. It's a great game. It plays well. It did really well on Xbox. I've got no doubt it'll do well on PS5. It's just, for me, where this then leaves Xbox going forward, for me, is the most wanted, the intrigue going forward.
The most wanted this week, Bully's desire to know the future for Xbox.
And just quickly, Bully, I want to see if you're going to guess the same game that I'm talking about for tomorrow as well.
It was just sort of announced for...
This isn't a spoiler for News Story 4, is it, guys?
No, it's not. No.
Okay.
No, it was just announced for
the Blueprints. Is that the one you're thinking of?
Yeah, that's the one. The PS Plus games.
It's on PS Plus. It's on Game Pass as well, so it's free for everyone. But it's getting very, very good review scores. A lot of people saying Game of the Year. Some are saying Game of the Generation. There's a lot of buzz around it.
Tell me things.
It's an indie game. It's a puzzle-based roguelite. Puzzle. Well, I don't know if it's much platforming, but it's definitely puzzle-based roguelite kind of game with a whole bunch of different mechanics. But I'm very intrigued to see, even listening to people reviewing the game, I'm like, I don't even fully understand what the mechanics are. I'm not sure if you're the same, Billy, but I want to get my hands on it just to see what this thing's like. So as of tomorrow, I'll definitely be firing that one up and giving it a go. So I'll be able to talk about that next week.
Yeah, I'm very much the same. And that was the toss-up with these two games. I sort of looked at it and go, this intrigues me, but I don't know. It seems to be rating really well in terms of reviews, but for me, it's one of those games that it could go either way. I could start playing it and fall in love with it, or I've
heard a lot of people say that if you liked The Witness, if you didn't like The Witness, it's a similar sort of game to that. But if you didn't like The Witness or that, then you still like that. You might like this version of this game. This is the first time you'll actually enjoy it, just because of the whole escape room kind of content that it's giving you, which I think I really fall into. I like being able to solve puzzles, and you solve that one thing and it makes you feel really smart, which I don't like. I don't generally feel smart at the best of times. So if if I can solve something in a game that makes me feel smart, tick that box, I'll have a crack at that all day.
Escape room, you've perked my ears. Suddenly I'm all about it. A roguelike escape.
Yeah, so you're putting different rooms together and solving different puzzles to unlock different rooms to get a different run. I think you've got to get to the center of this mansion and unlock a room number 47 or something. There's all these mysteries behind that and all these other side mysteries within the mansion. And it looks really, really, it's like something different. And at this day and age where we wax on and say games are too similar, for something to come out and actually look different actually sort of perks my ears up and really intrigues me. So I can't wait to give it a go.
Have I got a different game for you? It's called Project Tower. No?
It's
All right.
only $20.
It'd still be on the channel tomorrow because I knew nothing about it, but my ears are perked. We'll be escape rooming on the channel tomorrow. Let's go kick it in the newsroom door, shall we, boys? Ba-dum-bum. Who has the right to remain newsworthy this week, Bully?
Newsworthy.
Oh, wait, before we go there, do you need to give us an update on the footy scores? How are we doing?
Geelong down by 2 points. We're going all right.
Ooh.
Third
Third
quarter.
quarter?
Third quarter. We're good to go. Don't worry about it.
Premiership quarter, some might say.
We're good to go. Don't worry about it. News story 1. We saw the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal, plus a whole bunch of trailers that went with that last week. Obviously, it's about a week ago. I think most people have sort of absorbed most of it. For me, the biggest thing that came out of that is the cost of the game. So there was mild outrage when games went from 60 US to 70 US, and now we're looking at Switch 2's base of 80 US and discussion.
Oh, please, kids pay $30 for a skin in Fortnite. Who cares?
And so what are we talking? Is this like $160 retail in Australia? Or
I think they're trying to. It was about 120. I think I've seen so far. That's before
That
Amazon
sounds
and
low.
the rest of it.
That's right. Unky pays 160 just to get 3 days early access.
To a game that he's getting for free on Game Pass.
pretty much. Yeah, but $22 for Project Tower? Too much. Perish the
Too
thought.
much.
Yeah, because it's rubbish. But anyway,
Shots fired.
so I guess that's the biggest thing out of this is as much as we saw, and you can debate the necessity for a Switch 2 and the graphical updates and whether it's
I'll finally be able to get to play, what is it, Tears of the Kingdom? No, the
Tears
other
of
one.
the Kingdom.
Yeah,
Tears of the
I'm
Kingdom.
looking forward to Tears of the Kingdom. This is going to be great.
Whether the generation bump is worth it for the console and all the rest of it, I'm more than happy to entertain those thoughts. But the reality is jumping to $80. And then I heard one of their VP of sales come out during the week basically saying, well, we sell a premium product, so the premium product needs to maintain its value. And that was their excuse for not really having first-party games on sale as well. So I don't know what you guys thought, but
I've got a question if I can.
I was just going to say before you jump in that $80 for US for a game, you can make arguments either side. Is that, are we underselling the product that people are putting out, or are we just as consumers sitting there going, just give it to me the cheapest price, and $80 is ridiculous? Because they were selling games, Nintendo 64 and SNES games for $80, $90, $100 30 years ago. And yet we seem to be now losing our minds over the price of games being $80, despite the fact that we all know the cost of development and the time that it's taking for a lot of these games.
Well, they've also come out and said that, I think it was Doug Bowser, still love his name for a Nintendo boss, that he's come out and said, yeah, we know not everyone's going to be able to afford a Switch 2. I mean, but at the end of the day, you don't have to buy a console on day one. There's always sales.
I don't think you'll be able to if it's anything like the Switch one.
Well, no, that's
Would you
true.
have to wait 6 months to get hold of one?
No.
Yeah,
For the diehards.
we've got our pre-orders in, so I'm getting one. But the fact of the matter is, though,
they're still up for pre-sale in Australia, so I'd imagine it's the same most of the way around the world.
No issues. And the fact that all their games are backwards compatible, so if you decide to pick up a Switch 2 down the track, then your games are going to work on it. What do you mean, well?
They've released a list of, last time I checked, about 180 that are not backwards compatible.
Oh, they're probably all the shit games you collect.
All the first party games, I think, obviously will be, but there's an expanding, and it keeps growing though. That's the problem. There's an expanding list of games.
How many of those games have got Asian girls with short dresses?
I'll stick my hand up and say I haven't looked at the entirety of the list, but there's a growing list of games that are not backwards compatible.
Okay.
I wonder what the common thread is like, whether they're all on a certain game engine or something, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. But also on games, though, I think it's now today as well that Hades 2 is going to be a Switch 2 console exclusive as well.
That's quite the snag.
That's a big snag. I'm not sure how much money Nintendo's paying them for that. It'd have to be a fair bit, because I'd imagine a game like Hades 2 that's been in early access on Steam and PC only, given the fact how big the first one was. I think the first one actually was Nintendo Switch exclusive console at the start as well. But I imagine the sales you get across all consoles would be substantial. So, Nintendo would have to be offering a fair bit of money for an indie studio. I mean, I know they're probably one of the bigger ones now. They've made Hades. They've got a shit ton of money. I don't think they're worried about that. But the money Nintendo are giving them would have to definitely outweigh the sales. So the fact that they can take that big amount of cash, put it into the game, which has been in early access, they can put the money towards that to continue to make the game better for when they do eventually do that big console release, comes out on PS5, comes out on Xbox, they do your cross progression and all that, then it's going to keep all consumers happy. I know there's going to be a few that understandably are quite upset they don't get to play the sequel to one of the best games ever made of that genre. Day one, they might have to buy Switch 2, so maybe that's where they're at as well. Nintendo, like, it's going to help us sell some of our consoles as well. Who knows? But I think it's not the worst thing. I mean, if you want to play it on PC, you can. Again, I think I did play the first one on Switch. And with the Switch 2's new hardware, with a game like Hades, I don't think graphically it's going to look any different on a PS5 than it's going to look on a Switch 2. So I'm more than happy to pick it up on Switch 2 and, be able to play it handheld or on the TV. So it doesn't really bother me. It's going to bother a few, though, I think.
What's the deal with, and I have not been paying attention because Nintendo isn't my favorite developer or, hardware. What is the deal with, so I've got Tears of the Kingdom on the Switch 1, like the physical cartridge. Is there like a $10 upgrade to get the Switch 2 version, or is it
I don't think they've released a price, but it's pretty much that is you stick your Switch 1 console in, you pay a digital download code, 10, 15.
Or I think if you've got the Nintendo, if you're part of that, their online subscription service, I think it's free for Zelda. I think it was Zelda and one other one. I think it might have been Tears of the Kingdom made Breath of the Wild as well. I think if you're part of that service, you get that upgrade for free. Otherwise, I think, it was a minimal cost. I think around $10 or something cost for the digital upgrade.
Very good. And my final... Oh, sorry, go, Billy.
No, I was just going to say the other thing you mentioned in terms of pre-orders and them still being available, and it was just raised by Tigaro in the chat, which I'd forgotten about, is the Switch 2 pre-orders have been delayed in the US and it's crept through to Canada because of the tariffs that have been put on by El Presidente. So they don't know what the sell price is going to be through to the US. So they're saying, well, we're not going to put up pre-orders. So I'm not sure how that then is flowing on to the rest.
Sorry, when are you going to open the Geek Aloud store and on-sell Switch 2s from Australia to the US viewers?
Oh, I can load up.
Canada must be spewing, man. Like America is like that really annoying neighbor that plays loud music late at night and they can sit down on the thing and chucking beer bottles and shit, and they just have to go along with it because they're in the same neighborhood. I feel sorry for them.
But it'd be interesting to see. My point with that is it'd be interesting to see how many, because normally the US is the biggest video game market in the world. So it'd be interesting to see in terms of where they sit with pre-orders, whether they've gone, well, okay, the US aren't in a position to take pre-orders because we don't know what the price is going to be. We're just going to start redistributing to the rest of the world because we know
that's
Europe,
probably why you can still get them in Australia, mate.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. But we know Europe will still buy them. We know Asia, the Oceania region, Australia, etc., are still going to, they're still going to buy them. So let's just redirect the stock over there. And if the US can't get their act together, we'll sell them somewhere else. So it might be that we can get them all right, but when the pre-orders end up eventually going through for North America, it becomes extremely scarce and then therefore bloats the price of it. So based on that, I've just gone and ordered myself 10 Switch 2s. If anyone wants to jump, if anyone from the US wants to jump in, I'll only charge you $3,000 and I'll send it across the way.
Perfect. All right, guys. News story 2. We're not going too far. We're still in Switch 2 land. Bully, tell me things.
Switch 2. So Dusk Bloods, which we did see as a
what were they in Harry Potter? Muggle Bloods?
Mudbloods.
Mudbloods. Thank you. Sorry.
Which we did see as a release on the Switch 2 reveal, was a Nintendo Switch exclusive. So from the makers of Bloodborne and
Elden Ring, Dark Souls,
all the rest of them. Now to go to a Nintendo Switch exclusive on the Switch 2. Now I get that the Switch 2 is a bit more beefed up than the Switch 1, but it's still not hitting the heights of a PS5 or a PS5 Pro. I find this one of the most bizarre decisions.
Well, I'll tell you the main reason that this one annoyed the shit out of me, because I could have sworn they were announcing Bloodborne 2 when that thing first came up. And when it was not that, I was furious. I was like, I get it. And then when they said, I was like, the game actually looks all right. And I was like, yeah, okay, I see this happening. They say Switch 2 exclusive. I'm like, fuck. Like, well, I know they say exclusive, but inevitably this game's coming to other consoles.
Oh,
surely.
it will. I think
and then again, I don't want to put all the effort into Souls game on a Nintendo console when I know I'm going to get a chance to play it on down the track. So I don't know. Unless it gets like really good reviews, I don't know.
And I guess that's my point is you're releasing on a Switch. Let's be honest, most Soulsborne players are going to be sitting there going, I want the best experience that I can get out of this game. And at some point, it's going to come to the PS5 or the PC or whatever it is, in which case you're going to get a way better experience than what can possibly be provided on the Switch too. So, and the reason I'm throwing this into the news is I sort of sit here and wonder how the sales are going to go initially with that in the background, that it's going to come out eventually. Is it going to be a really soft launch, or are people just going to go, I don't care, I just love everything that FromSoft put out, and I'm just going to jump into it straight away. And then when it comes out in 6, 12 months, whatever it is on the other platforms, I'll jump into it again.
I'm just thinking, how much money has Nintendo got? They pay for bloody Hades 2, and they've also got this game. So they got money coming out of their ass if they can afford these two things. So, I don't know.
Riddle me this, Batman. Is there any of the unique interface, controller type hardware configuration on the Switch 2 that's unique to the Switch 2 that maybe this game's leveraging?
I don't think so. I mean, they've got the new mouse capability, but this doesn't not the kind of game that I would think you'd be using that. I think that's more of a first-person shooter or sort of a Civilization type game you're using the mouse for. So in terms of controls, I don't think so.
Arms combat-y?
Nah, not at all.
Throwing the Joy-Cons around.
Like I hope not.
Because that'll keep it Switch-bound. Like if Nintendo just dropped a huge pile of money on it and said, make it so it's Joy-Con compatible and we want all our players, throwing air punches.
They've done that in the past with Zelda on the Wii, and it tanked. Like it tanked because
Skyward Sword with the Wii
because this is how you do the sword. You have to do the Wii remote, and it tanked. It was putrid to play.
Yeah, and I don't see them using anything. So I don't see this game not being adapted to a regular controller. And I think it's just, Nintendo trying to sort of take that market and, again, give other people reason that are, probably wouldn't not look at Nintendo. Like you say, Troy, yourself, you're not really a Nintendo guy. You prefer your more sort of adult gaming console, PlayStation, Xbox. This could maybe be one of those things that clearly Geelong's just kicked the goal. But
in front, are they?
2 points down again.
But no, clearly, like this could be hitting that market for people that go, oh, well, we've got this huge market of Souls fans, and they generally play on PC or other consoles. Maybe this is what gets them into Nintendo and gets them into that ecosystem. They buy this, they've got a Switch, so why not just buy Mario Kart? Why not buy the new Donkey Kong game while I've got a Switch now? So I think there is merit in locking down that market. Whether this is the right move for FromSoft, I don't know, but Nintendo, I think, not a bad move if you can get FromSoft over there developing games for their console, and who knows, maybe developing a game in hand with Nintendo like this means the other games are going to run better on Nintendo Switch, because I don't think the other Souls games notoriously run too well on it.
And there's no trophy system or achievement system, is there, on the Switch 2 that's been confirmed?
They've come out and said it's not happening.
Yeah, that's a swing and a miss. The other swing and miss, what's going on with the bloody hardware button for a paid full feature? Ooh, that's almost worth an infringement notice.
The chat button.
Yeah, get out of here.
That's all. But I did hear, though, you can apparently use any webcam for that. You don't have to use the Nintendo one, which is good. So if you've already got a camera, you don't have to fork out the extra, whatever, $80 they're going to stick
But if there's any scenario in which I can hit a button on my console and then a pay window comes up, it's off.
But that's just Nintendo. That they did that with the Switch, and the only way you can do the chat, you can't do it through the console. You've got to do it through their app on the phone. Like this, they've done this in the past, which they've been criticised for. It is dumb in this day and age that you don't integrate that into your basic level, controller or console system, that you don't have that. And I think it's a misstep, to be honest with you, that they're going to throw in, what is it, 50 or 60 Australian for a camera to be able to do this, when you can do it. You can do voice chat on every other console, and you can make the argument and say, okay, well, fine, but you got to pay for PS Plus, or you got to pay for Xbox Gold or whatever, but you still have to pay for Nintendo Switch Online, but you're not getting that full feature set. I think it's one of the biggest missteps they've made. That would have been one of the first things that I corrected out of the Switch.
Well, you know what, though, Bully? The problem is, though, people will pay for it. That's the thing. Like they're charging $10 for that fucking introduction to Switch thing, like you can go
Oh,
inside
that's
the console.
putrid.
Well, that should just be
de-
a package. That should be a packaged thing that comes with your Switch, like
Demo,
like
10 bucks for a
Astrobot came
demo
with
disc.
PlayStation 5. Yeah, it should be that.
$10
But
for a demo
they're
disc.
still charging for it. I don't know how they can get away with that. People probably will still pay for it. I'm definitely not going to pay for that, as cool as it might be. But no, not a chance.
I voted with my wallet. I haven't pre-ordered.
Oh.
Eggs on your face, boys, not mine.
That's right, Bully and I'll be playing Mario Kart, chatting through our.
It's Mario Kart 8, the 4.3 release, isn't it?
No, it's World. We've got a new one finally.
It's a new one, but by the time we've set up our controller that's connected to our phone, that's got a speaker on the side and a camera on the other side, we'll be able to chat, and then you'll be left out. And who's going to have egg on their face then?
Yeah, it'll be me. All right.
Probably me. I don't know.
I'll keep going with egg on my face. News story 3. No egg on their faces.
Well, we'll see how we go. And talking about the prices of the Nintendo Switch games to come, $80, $90 US. There has been numerous rumors, memes. You know, you look on social media, you can see the Rockstar, developers, or the PR guy just sitting there, you know, doing this one, going, well, if you're charging 80, I'm charging 100, I'm charging 120. So there's already rumors that based on that prior to Nintendo releasing their game prices for this next generation for them, that there was some arguments to be made that GTA 6 was going to hit that round about that mark anyway. Now that they've gone Nintendo to that point, that just opens the door for Rockstar to turn around and go, well, we are providing, in essence, probably the biggest game that you are ever going to see. It's going to have a massive pre-order. It's going to have massive interest on release. We can charge $100 and probably make an extra $1 billion out of it in the first week of release by charging an extra $10, $20, $30, and people are going to pay it.
I would happily pay whatever they wanted for GTA 6,
I don't think anybody's going to turn around and say no. So it'd be interesting, I guess, as to where that, you know, once the rumor and the scuttlebutt sort of finishes up, where they sit with that and what the end up price is going to be. Because I agree with you, Troy. I would pay, let's be honest, I'd probably be in the 130, 150 Australian. So we're talking about 90 to 100 US range to play this game on release, if it is what we expect it is going to be. And I can't really see it being not. So I guess more power to them. The rumor is that it's a $2 to $3 billion investment in development for the game. So if they need to,
they'll make it back in 24 hours or less,
and especially that price. So interested to see how that plays out.
I think it's one of the only games you can get away with charging that premium price and not getting too mad about it, I think.
Unky, did you sell me? I've got the collector's edition of GTA. I think it's 4. It might have been 5. Did I purchase that off you? Because I can't remember how much I paid. It would have. I would be surprised if it was $250. Because it was Xbox 360.
It was. I was thinking the other day because I had it back on. I was playing it with a little fella. Again, probably shouldn't be playing all these things with him. And no, it was. I was thinking back and go, oh my God, that wasn't actually a 360 game, and I'm playing it now on a PS5 Pro. And like, yes, you look at it now and go, this is a bloody good looking game for such an old game. But I guess they went in there and tweaked a lot of it for the PS5, but it's running on 360 tech back in the day, and it still played pretty much the same. It just didn't obviously run as well. But that game is ridiculous when you look at the stuff you can do inside that thing, and just the thought of what this game could be. I think this will be the biggest media release of anything. I mean, this will probably rival Avengers Endgame in terms of what it gets media related. But I mean, again, I'd pay $200 plus.
Yeah.
Especially if they're going to give me weeks early access.
Is it going to rival Snow White, though? Is that?
Hey, you say Snow White, but I have to I'll change the subject completely just for a moment. I went and saw the Minecraft movie.
Hey, me too. Took my boys.
It was actually.
Did you get a drink thrown on you?
Mate, no, I didn't. It was actually surprisingly a fun ride. I was smiling a lot. I was laughing a lot. Like, I didn't quite have yes, everyone yelled out chicken jockey at that moment in the movie, but we didn't have kids riding each other's shoulders in the movie to completely ruin the experience. But no, I don't know about Troy, but I didn't mind it. It was a bit of dumb fun.
Dumb fun. You've
I've got no issue with Minecraft, but when my kids even turn around and say, "Oh, I want to see Snow White," you got problems.
You got problems. But when you see Jack Black riding on the back of someone using his hair to steer him, it definitely gets a lot out of me any day of the week. Hands down, one of the funniest moments I've had in a movie of recent time.
There are a lot of cheap and easy laughs as far as, cinema history. I don't think it's going to be up there with the big boys, but for a fun, dumb, hour and a half, I think it was-ish, right? Oh, Bullies off to the races.
Just
Final
about
score?
to be. No, still going. Still going. About halfway through the last quarter, and we're up by 10 points.
Look out. Sounds like, should we kick on the news story 4? It seems somewhat appropriate.
It does.
I think it will be, and it's we need to keep rolling on because I'm about to drop.
Go, Billy, go! It's on screen now. Tell us.
Drop your headphones. I think we're a couple of. I couldn't find the latest trailer, so it's AFL 23. But for those in the Australian, we like to keep it local occasionally. Australia has their biggest sport. NRL sucks. So AFL 26 is our local national game, the AFL, and they've released. It was almost like a stealth drop. Released a couple of days ago, or mentioned that they were going to release the 26 version of the game. We don't get an annual release like many of the US sports or the FIFA do. And I think 23 was the last one we got, and before that, I reckon it was about 8, 9, 10 years. So you can put that away. They haven't won in. I'm not sure they've ever won.
Ball dancing, Bully, ball dancing.
Not sure they've ever won, but AFL 26 got released the other day. The trailer came out, and it is dropping on the 8th of May. So for those that are mildly interested in it, I would suggest jumping onto it. Maybe I'm not a massive fan of the pre-order, but this is probably one that you want to get onto. I think I went in day of release for AFL 23 and the previous game before that. Could not find it on the shop shelves anywhere. It was pre-sold out. So it's obviously a limited market in Australia. If you're interested in it, I would jump on board with it. But that's just my recommendation. Hopefully, we saw a bit of a bumpy release with AFL 23. A lot of the features that they mentioned were going to be there at release didn't come out for 6 or 8 months later.
Did they even get, what was it, the franchise mode or something? Wasn't there something they just kept putting it off?
No, that was the...
There was a card mode. I think you were supposed to unlock cards of players. I don't even know if it ever came to the game at all.
Yeah, it did eventually.
Yeah,
and they still, to their credit, they're actually still doing updates with the 23 version. So they're putting out the current,
just like live roster updates, sort of thing.
Yeah, live roster updates. They're still doing patch fixes. It's actually a lot better. I played it about 6 months ago.
Bully, look to your right.
We're gonna go, Paddy.
Yeah. I'm clearly 30 seconds ahead of him, so I knew what was coming. Just Bully. I hope this game definitely comes out in a better state than the last one, because I love the AFL games, and the 23 is currently in a really good state. It's fun to play. It's definitely had all the tweaks it needed to bring that game to where it should have been at launch now. So I'm hoping they don't fuck up the release of this game. Hopefully they've learned everything they needed to learn from 2023's busted launch. So fingers crossed the gameplay is good. The gameplay, the brief gameplay they did show was I think Heaney's mark against GWS last year. I think it was the one. Didn't win mark of the year because it was in the prelim final. So, but it probably was the best mark of the year. They've showed that in the new graphics. When I say new graphics, it essentially looks the same as 2023. But I'm sure in gameplay it's probably going to look much better. But I mean, the game already looks okay. We can't expect FIFA levels of graphics when it comes to these games.
MLB.
Yeah, or MLB, which have millions and millions of dollars to throw at these franchises and big things, whereas it's just a small little Aussie developer doing this one. But no, I reckon I'm looking forward to it. And as I said, Bully, we're probably day one adopters of AFL anyway.
Is there a face scan character creator sort of situation in it, or bare bones?
I'm not sure, but they do.
Sure.
They've actually scanned all of the AFL players, so it's not like they've just gone off. Likenesses or thereabouts. They've actually gone and scanned every AFL player. So, like Unky said, for a local developed game with probably not a massive budget, they actually do a reasonable job. And I think that the look of the game when the last version came out was actually not too bad. It was just the way it played, and
you just couldn't land a handball. Like, it was just the actual controls and everything were busted. Like, the players would all run one way or run away from you when you had the ball. You literally could run towards players; they would all run away from you. It was just absolutely busted.
If memory serves, was there multiplayer, like online matching errors for the first week or something?
You name an error, it had it.
And the rage quitting was beyond a joke in that game. Like, you would online play against someone, you'd match up with someone to play online. You'd get 3 or 4 goals ahead, they'd rage quit. So you'd go, okay, no worries. Like, sucks, but okay. And then you jump into another game and you get matched up against the same person. and then
It wasn't you, was it, Unky?
And then you'd be beating him again.
I wouldn't be rage quitting because I wouldn't be losing a bully.
And then they'd rage quit again, and you'd go, all right, no worries, and you'd load back in again, and for the third time in a row, you're against the same person that's just rage quit again. And I get there isn't a great, huge, massive market. I understand all that, but there's got to be some penalty to rage quitting because you're losing. Like, see it out, mate.
Call of Duty have it worked out. Rocket League have it worked out.
Yeah.
There's games that do it.
Yeah, see it out. See it out.
May I suggest next time, Billy, don't buy your son a copy of it as well, and that way you won't have that issue.
Well, I've got to beat him at something.
All right, guys, that'll do it for the news. Bully, what's been happening in that there YouTube chat for audience interrogation time?
Oh, I think we might have caught a few people out just jumping back from the Tuesday back to
the
Thursday.
schmozzle. Let's not mention the war.
It will be ongoing back to the Thursday.
It's Thursdays. It's Thursdays. I've learned my lesson.
We just had a little bit of hiccup for a couple of weeks, but there has been a little bit of chat. I mentioned Tigero just mentioned about the Switch 2 pre-orders of the US. He also did mention that the art style for, I think he was talking about
Project Tower, if it was high praise, I guess.
Wouldn't have, because it sucks balls, even at $22.
You're breaking my heart, Bully.
The art style for South of Midnight. How would you boys think about that for a Final Fantasy X remake using that art style rather than the
I'm all for it.
ultra realistic that we've seen with the Final Fantasy VII remake series?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I think South of Midnight for me, like strikingly, is one of the best looking games I've seen this gen. And I think any style that can adapt, or any game that can adapt that style, I think would be brilliant. Like, you obviously need to work something in with it for a Final Fantasy, much bigger game. I think South of Midnight gets away with its graphical intensity and the way it looks because it is a smaller, condensed game. And I think you're looking at a very expensive game if you're going to utilize that tech with a bigger game. But no, I'm all for it. If you want to put a Final Fantasy in that graphic style, go for it.
If it means redoing it in that means they don't have to do it across 3 iterations for the one game over 15 years, I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments there, Bully, or are we done? I think your final siren's about to go. You're getting
we've got about 10 minutes to go, and we're up by 10 points, and I'm getting a bit nervous. So let's
get him out of here. Get him out of here.
I'm prepared to wrap up the comments at this point.
All right, then. That'll do it for this week. Hey, Unky Dunky, what else can you do with Geek Aloud?
Like and subscribe it, and you'll never miss it.
Big. Oh, that was luck. Hey, that's something. Oh! Old Uncle Donkey. Donkey.